So we just ate the meal that we prepared at home, chicken wraps and some pasta salad. And yeah, now it's 5 to 1, so we have 5 minutes to go to the next museum, which is the Rembrandthuis. So that's another interesting house. I believe it's the museum of I don't remember the name. It was that wealthy merchant that we heard about at the other museum about Amsterdam. I think, yeah, that was the man. I don't remember. I will just put it in the subtitles somehow. There's a big church over there, and I think over here we would come to the Rembrandthuis. There's an honorable mention that I need to make, which is the Anne Frank house. We cannot visit it even if we wanted, because they do not allow bags in there. Their baggage room is closed, so they said on their website, please, if you have a bag, leave it at the hotel or the car. The problem is, well, first of all, we do not have a hotel here, and then if we leave our bag in the car, then we do not have water, we do not have food, we do not have the power bank to charge the phone. But definitely an interesting museum if you have time and you can leave your bag somewhere else to visit that museum, because it's about the Second World War and Jewish history. The house of Rembrandt. So the first room inside of the Museum of Rembrandt is the kitchen. It's an imitation of the original kitchen. According to this, Rembrandt's kitchen was almost always on, so they were always cooking. But that's rather a random fact.
And his teacher, Peter Lastman, with scenes from the Bible and classical mythology. Rembrandt slept in a box bed by the door. We know what it looked like from a drawing Rembrandt made, showing his wife Saskia in bed. Saskia died in 1642, shortly after giving birth to a son, Titus. She was only 29.
So this is where Rembrandt used to have his workshop. Unfortunately, the light is a bit stupid, but yeah. So you can see he made the first designs here, and then he turned them into paintings. You can see traces of brush over there, ink on the wall. Oh, that's how it looks. So this is the large studio of Rembrandt. This is where he used to paint his masterpieces between 1639 and 1658. Yeah, and it was very important that a lot of light had to come inside this room to be able to paint those paintings, because without enough light you couldn't see the different compositions, colors and tones that are necessary to create a masterpiece. Rembrandt was not only an artist but also an art collector and an art dealer, so he sold his own paintings from other artists, and also he had a collection of objects from all around the world. It could be, like you can see, Roman, Greek statues, but also some artifacts from other countries. So he was really, you could say, he was a philanthropic person. And Rembrandt also had his own pupils who learned from him, and this is where they used to be, at the top floor of his house in an area called the Small Studio.
Most of all, the pupils learned to work in Rembrandt's style.
So that was the Rembrandthuis. Now we are going to the old church. So and right now we are at the new market, which is it's quite anecdotal that it's quite old. I think it's from the 15th century, and that's the so-called Oude Kerk, where they did, among other things, they did dissections, like they dissected insects and people sometimes, and this is where they sometimes do a market on the weekend, and might also be on other weekdays. I do not know the exact times. And yeah, right now it seems as if there's a market. Today is Sunday, so kind of makes sense. And it's very close to the Chinatown in Amsterdam, so that's why you also see some signs in Chinese. We are in Chinatown, here in the center of Amsterdam. You can see many people, many buildings in the Chinese style, also with Chinese letters. Yeah, looks like you would expect. There's even a Chinese temple. Fo Guangshan He Hua Temple. But I do not know Chinese, sorry. Right next to the Chinese district, the red light district. So you can see some erotic shops and some sex shops and stuff. And it's very crowded, as you could expect. So a canal, and right next to this canal, Oude Kerk, the old church. Maybe you remember how it goes for Amsterdam for most museums, including churches, right? Yep, no filming, only pictures. So that's what we did, and I am sure in this case taking pictures was not that different from filming, because there is not much to see. It is basically a church that was turned into a center for temporary exhibitions. This week there was a modern art exposition with some weird candles and nails. Maybe I'm too dumb for modern art, but I didn't like it. So we have 1 hour until the next museum. That was the old church. We were not allowed to film inside. I tried my best anyways. We will see if we rest for 1 hour somewhere before entering the Nemo Science Museum, or if we go to the Shipbuilding Museum, Scheepvaartmuseum, which is close to the Nemo Museum. So yeah, that's the plan. So you can see over there on the other side is the red light district. We are on the other side. So not on the red, not, wait, trying to film. So we are at the other side of the red light district, that's what I mean. And we might go to the Ons Lieve Heer op Zolder, which is a cultural museum, but maybe we needed to reserve, which we didn't, so let's try our luck. So in the end we didn't go into that Ons Lieve Heer op Zolder museum, because they ordered us to get an audio tour, like it was compulsory. And yeah, we do not have the time, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna check out really quick the central station, then we're gonna go to the Nemo Museum and see if they let us inside earlier than what we reserved. So that over there is the central station, a unique building because of how old it looks and how much ornamentation it has compared to the humble style of houses here in Amsterdam. It really stands out. And this is the church of Saint Nicholas, I believe, because it said Nikolaus something. It's very interesting that one of, like, the right tower is higher than the left tower. I don't want to spread fake news, but it might be that they didn't have money to expand the left tower more, so they just left it like that. Yeah, it also looks quite, as if it's a Protestant church, not a very overloaded style. Yeah. The center is over there. Now we are, really close to the sea, going to the Nemo Museum. Very interesting to see a floating pagoda. I guess it's a sea palace, might be a kind of restaurant. Nemo Museum, and that's a kind of harbor haven with the center behind it. The Nemo Museum now, it's like a ticking bomb, it's so full. So this is the view from the terrace of the Nemo Museum. That ship that you see over there is from the Scheepvaart Museum, and you can see almost all of Amsterdam from here. So the Nemo Museum is more for kids. There are like 5 stories, 5 floors, where kids of different ages can explore topics like science, about geology, the world around them, so many different topics. It's like a school building, but with interactive stuff. You can click on, like, touch things and they start an audio, or you can, I've even seen a chemistry lab where kids can experiment with chemical compounds and learn about organic, anorganic compounds and so on. So I would say it's more a museum for kids. My wife recommended this museum, but of course when she came here she was a child. So that's why it was biased decision based on childhood memories. So that's the chemistry lab, and over there you have more activities, a spaceship, videos. But it's really for kids. I mean, it's really full here and it's very overwhelming. So that was the Nemo Museum. We didn't find it very nice because it was very full, even though there's a maximum number of reservations. And also, I don't know, I could barely film there, do anything, and the science inside there is kind of pseudoscience. I mean, small facts about life and stuff, but nothing further in detail. There are also very vague themes like, I am neither a woman nor a man, I am whatever I want to be. So that's very strange that they say those things to children already. That's my personal opinion, of course, and you can take it however you want, but I think it's not good to confuse children that way, because they are trying to form their personality and they need a stable ground of facts, and it cannot be really called a science museum. So the next and last museum is the Jewish Museum, that also required a reservation. So yeah, but then we already go home. It's been a very intense day and it's raining. It's very mixed weather today, but yeah, I think I am hopeful that we'll make it. Let's go. Okay, so we are at the Portuguese synagogue now, which is part of the Jewish Museum. We actually reserved for in half an hour, so we are half an hour ahead of our reservation time. We're gonna try to get in anyways. Let's see what they say.
You're my first lieutenant. I love it when you.
Okay, so the Jewish synagogue, the Portuguese synagogue, was not open. It's not open during 2 days, so we cannot go there, and we are just checking out the Jewish Museum. So it's called Jewish Museum and the Portuguese synagogue. It's 2 locations and 1 ticket for them, but in our case we're just gonna visit one, the Jewish Museum, because the Portuguese synagogue is closed. A ram's horn called shofar in Hebrew, and this is how they blow them to celebrate the new year, also called Rosh Hashanah. They have 10 days where they kind of go into themselves, are a bit of searching inside their soul, how good of a person I am, how good of a person they are and stuff. And then on the 10th day they do the day of repentance, also called Yom Kippur. I like that. They are clean for the new year. The Jewish people was almost gonna be exterminated during Purim, so by the Persians. That's a story told in the book of Esther. I won't go into detail, but they were they brought them as slaves, the Persians, because they conquered Israel, and the Jews could escape from the king Ahasuerus, and that's why they celebrate Purim, or also called the Feast of Lots. They call these pointers Yad. They are used to read the Torah without losing track of where they are reading, and there are many different forms and in many different materials. And over here we have scrolls with the story from the book of Esther about the Purim, the feast where they celebrate that they escaped extermination from the Persians. This is a Jewish calendar. You can see very old books here that are preserved at the Jewish Museum. And this is how a Jewish family would look like walking here on the streets of Amsterdam. Here on the second floor there's a bridge. If you walk that bridge you will end up in the section that is about Jews in the 20th century. So at least in the Netherlands, of course. In the rest of the world they might have been treated differently, but here they could really integrate into society. Of course, World War II happened, and then they were not so free anymore. Survivors from a concentration camp. So that was basically the Jewish museum. Now there's also a Jewish museum for kids, but yeah, we are not kids. But if you come here with children, could be a good option for you. And also, yeah, the Portuguese synagogue, a pity that it's not open today. But yeah, you do gain a good insight of Jewish life inside of that museum. Yeah, so I think that was everything today. We've done it. 9 museums in one day. We did not spend one single dime. Very proud of this result. I didn't think we would make it. Of course we pay for the gasoline. Of course we paid for the lunch beforehand, because we paid for the ingredients to make our lunch, and we paid for the water beforehand before coming here. But technically we did not give a single cent to the city of Amsterdam. Nothing against this city, but it was a kind of challenge to be in one of the most expensive cities in the world and not spend anything. And well, you could argue that we paid for the museum tickets, but we did not, because we have the museum card that that we bought once for most museums in the Netherlands, and we already paid for the price of it before coming here, because we were in Assen, Lelystad, Zwolle. We were in many province capitals and we went to museums there. So the 67 euros that the museum card costs are already paid. So basically today we went for free to the museums. Like, the important thing for me was that we don't need a wallet, basically. So we are back at the car. It's raining like crazy right now, so we just arrived at the right time. And yeah, here's the wallet that we didn't use. I would call it a successful day today. Parking 0 euros at the Mauritsstraat on a Sunday, just outside the center. It's like 10 minutes away walking from the center. Museums, we didn't pay for them. Lunch, we didn't pay for that. Here in Amsterdam, no drinks, nothing. Very successful. And Amsterdam, well, how do you think Amsterdam was? I thought it was gonna be a bit better, like people would be a bit more friendly. That's my image of the Netherlands. But yeah, it kind of surprised me that way?
It was like I expected, because whenever I was in Amsterdam, people were a bit blunt. Yeah, I guess because they deal with so many tourists all the time, they get a bit annoyed and
Yeah, so come prepared if you come here to Amsterdam. Do not expect super friendly people, because they are so used to tourists that they need to be very blunt and tell you off for almost anything and be very like mistrust everyone. Generally they have a lot of distrust, but it's because of that mass tourism.
but some of them were very nice. At the Oude Kerk, at the Jewish museum, they were very friendly. Also at the Grachten Museum, so the Canal Museum.
Yeah, I think it's because it's more oriented towards Dutch people and there are not so many tourists there. Like the most unfriendly people were at the Rijksmuseum, so the Museum of the Kingdom, the Royal Palace, but you know, the vibe itself and the museums, we liked it. And yeah, if you come here you have a lot to see, and it's definitely a place where there are many activities. So with that, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Maybe it's a province capital of the Netherlands, which is a playlist we are doing, a challenge we are doing to visit all the capitals of the Netherlands, or maybe it's something else. Whatever it is, stay tuned for more.